we now have threats of a civil war. That is what we are now being told, that because 26 states are up against the federal government, 25 of which are backing Texas, there is a huge concern that these states are going to a war with the federal government very soon. Not only that, there's a concern that the Biden administration now has their back against the wall in an election year where things could go from bad to worse in a hurry. I'm going to address what's going on, why everything is just revolving around Texas, but it's starting to spread to New Mexico, to Arizona, and to California. So your state may be next. I'm going to break down all this in just a moment. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So could the United States end up in a civil war? The answer is yes. Absolutely we could, because of all the issues, all the controversies that are currently going on within the United States. Now, things are only going to go from bad to worse. Here's why. Republicans and Democrats do not get along. They have not passed a substantial bill, a bipartisan bill in some time, and because of this, they're fighting one another. Not only that, they're fighting one another, trying to make the other party look bad, especially during an election year. But here's the thing. Some of the stuff that they're pointing out, these aren't lies. These are the truth. Especially when Republicans say that Democrats had the chance to secure the border. But the Biden administration on day one, he threw border security out the window. And now they are blaming him, but they know there's an easier person to go after. And that is House Republicans are holding a hearing to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary, Mayorkas. Now, the one thing I can tell you right now is that the Biden administration is likely to see Mayorkas get impeached. They do not care about him. The reason why is there's somebody and something even greater that they have to protect. That's President Biden and Democrats in the Oval Office. Not only that, but also Democrats in the Senate and the House. That's the concern. If all of this was happening, let's say a year ago, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. It's still a massive problem, but according to as a political crisis, it wouldn't be that big because we would have another year before the presidential election. But being that's happening in 2024, that's blowing everything out of the water, and that's what the real cause for concern is. Now, here's what I can tell you. Cities and states around the United States are highly concerned because they're now starting to feel threatened. Because the threats against the American people are now becoming more evident. For instance, right now we're seeing an influx of migrants coming into certain states like Illinois, New York, California, Texas, Colorado, right? All these states are seeing an influx. Well, some of these states are having to change their course, change their direction, especially when it comes to their budget. For instance, New York, they are not going to cut their budget for the police force because what we're being told is that would actually increase the threats. They need to provide more security. But why provide more security if we are perfectly safe? That's the question. Well, that's just in New York. In Chicago, they're scrambling to find additional funding for additional shelters. In Denver, Colorado, we saw more than 40,000 immigrants come into Denver, Colorado, and this is causing them to cut their budget for schools, libraries, for emergency services, parks, things like that. Again, it's turning into a bigger issue, but the concern again is how do the American people feel about this? How do the voters feel? Well, what I can tell you, the voters aren't happy. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you are not happy with what is going on at this time because this is turning into an even bigger crisis than anyone even projected. Now, Republicans have said before that if you get rid of the Remain in Mexico, you get rid of all these different policies, you end Title 42, it's going to be a massive disaster. And they said we are going to see, thousands and thousands of people enter into the United States illegally. They have been right. Some were saying that we were going to see, millions. Okay, I believe the last one I read was we're going to see about 8 to 10 million illegal immigrants enter into the United States every single year. I think that's a little bit extreme, but are they far off? No. Could we see 2 to 5 million people enter into the United States? Yes. Would that be a massive disaster? Yes, because we do not have the resources. We don't have the funding. We don't have the shelters. We don't have food, okay, at these shelters. Now, that's a crisis. But here's what we know. President Biden says, don't worry. Because if Congress were to send him a border security deal right now and he signed it, he would shut down the border right now. He would shut it down, okay? But again, most states, most lawmakers don't believe him. And the states are actually putting more pressure on the lawmakers to pretty much kill this deal. Don't let this pass. What I can tell you, though, is 25 states are with Republican governors. They signed a letter supporting Texas on their border control fight. They're going to do whatever they can to ensure that the United States, their neighbors, and their own state are safe. Now, I want to read this to you because here's what I think is very interesting. Experts now believe that a threat of a civil war is far too real. They say, especially when the Biden administration won't admit to what they did in the beginning of the administration and how it was a mistake. Due to it being an election year, there will simply be a massive cover-up to try and get through this year without completely losing in the upcoming election. It goes on to say, many feel that the Biden administration is currently attempting to work on a border security deal. But experts are concerned. They say as the election gets closer, the Biden administration could be backed into a corner. If they are backed into a corner at that point, states worry that they will attempt to get themselves out of it by causing civil disputes with those that aren't complying, i.e. Texas, right? And that could mean we are on the verge of a civil war. Now, all I can tell you right now is that could we see a cover-up? Yes. And I just want to point one thing out. One of the biggest issues that Democrats had in the previous presidential election is that former President Donald Trump did not want to concede. He said he won. Okay, and we're not going to get into that debate in this video, but he said he won. Now, Democrats said that no, he didn't win, right? And they tried to explain all the reasons why he did not win. Okay, just picture this. If Republicans win this upcoming election and Democrats say, well, no, you guys didn't win, okay, and they're going to try to fight it because it happens every single year. There's always an issue. Now, if they try to fight it and it comes down to, well, how many people voted, right? And this and that. Well, here's the issue. It's going to come down to our border security. The amount of people voting, okay? Democrats want to try to get more people to vote, obviously, right? Makes more sense. Give more people free stuff, and then you ask them for their vote. Simple, right? Simple politics. Anyway, the reason why this is a huge concern is because now we're hearing that there's a chance. Remember that January 6th, run on the Capitol? What if we see a very similar thing, but it's not a run on the Capitol, right? It's not a run on the Capitol. Now it's a run on the border. It's a run on something else entirely, but it's kind of the same issue, right? Because now, again, think about it. Former President Donald Trump, did he go and drive people down to the Capitol building? No. Was he even there? No. He gave a speech. That was it. But here's the concern. What if people rally around, President Biden? What if he loses? They rally around him, and then they make a run on, a building, the Capitol, the White House, doesn't matter, the border, right? What if that happens? Experts believe there is a high likelihood we see another January 6th event in the beginning of 2025. So again, the threats of a civil war are real, and this is why some states are concerned with the direction of the entire United States. So we'll see what happens moving forward. All I can tell you is I will be here every step of the way. I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.